You're paying $200 a month for raw pet food that's cheaper to produce than regular kibble. The fake raw industry is the most profitable scam in pet nutrition, and every loving pet owner is being systematically robbed. Premium prices for standard processed food. Revolutionary marketing for the same old industrial shortcuts. Health promises that disappear the moment you read the fine print. We traced the money behind the raw food explosion and discovered a web of deception that would make pharmaceutical companies jealous. Brands charging double for kibble dusted with raw powder. Companies using high-pressure processing that costs pennies while destroying nutrition. Bulk suppliers selling bone meal and fat scraps at premium meat prices. Pet owners are spending their retirement savings, their children's college funds, their emergency money on what they believe is superior nutrition. They're cutting back on their own food to afford premium raw diets for their pets. They're choosing between medications and pet food because they've been convinced that raw feeding is the only way to keep their companions healthy. But the truth is, most raw brands are just expensive processed food wearing a health halo. The same corporations that created the kibble crisis are now profiting from the solution they're pretending to provide. These are the 5 fake raw brands that are systematically stealing from pet owners while delivering the same processed garbage they're trying to escape. Number 5. The raw-coated kibble imposters. Let's start with what might be the most egregious deception in the pet food industry today. Major commercial brands are selling what they call raw-coated kibble as revolutionary nutrition. You've seen them in pet stores, those premium bags with wolves and wildcats on the packaging, promising the benefits of raw feeding with the convenience of dry food. What they don't tell you is that what you're buying is standard high-heat processed kibble that's been dusted with microscopic amounts of raw freeze-dried powder. That's right, you're paying for 99% regular kibble with maybe 1% raw coating, sold at double the price of conventional dry food. The deception runs even deeper when you look at how these products are manufactured. The kibble base goes through the same industrial processing as standard dry food, creating dangerous advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These compounds are linked to inflammation, premature aging, and chronic disease in pets. The microscopic raw coating does virtually nothing to offset these harmful effects. What's truly disturbing is how the marketing of these products hides the standard kibble base while emphasizing the raw nutrition angle. The packaging features terms like raw infused, raw coated, and raw enhanced in bold lettering, with images suggesting wild, natural feeding. Meanwhile, the truth that you're buying regular kibble with a dusting of raw ingredients is buried in the fine print. The impact on your pet and your wallet is substantial. You're paying premium prices, often 40% more than regular kibble, for virtually no measurable raw nutrition benefits. These foods typically contain hidden carb loads from peas and potatoes that can spike blood sugar in senior dogs, potentially worsening or accelerating diabetes development. Your monthly feed bills increase dramatically without providing the actual fresh diet benefits your pet deserves. Here's the twist that should make every pet owner furious. You're paying top-tier prices for standard dry food with what amounts to marketing dust. The same corporations that produce bargain basement kibble are now selling you essentially the same product at luxury prices because they've sprinkled some raw powder on top. Number 4. The high-pressure pasteurized, HPP, sterile raw brands. Moving on to our next deception, let's examine the large-scale raw brands using high-pressure pasteurization, or HPP processing, marketed as safe raw nutrition. These companies have built their entire brand identity around providing commercial raw food that's safe and pathogen-free while maintaining all the benefits of raw feeding. But here's what they're not telling you. High-pressure processing fundamentally destroys many of the beneficial enzymes and alters protein structures that are the very reason people choose raw feeding in the first place. The sterilization process kills both harmful and beneficial bacteria indiscriminately, essentially defeating the entire purpose of raw feeding, which is to provide living, enzyme-rich nutrition. The marketing of these products as safe raw cleverly hides the enzyme destruction and protein alteration that occurs during processing. They emphasize the elimination of pathogens while completely glossing over what else is being eliminated, namely the very components that make raw feeding beneficial. The impact on your pet's health can be significant. Many owners report gut health problems from the denatured enzymes, leading to bloating and poor absorption of nutrients. The elimination of beneficial bacteria can compromise immune system function over time. Even the texture and palatability of the food changes. Many picky cats reject HPP processed raw due to the altered protein structure. Here's the ironic twist that exposes the entire charade. The sterile process these companies proudly advertise essentially eliminates everything that makes raw food beneficial in the first place. You're paying premium prices for what amounts to ultra-processed food that lacks the very qualities that define raw nutrition. Think about it. If the entire point of raw feeding is providing living, enzymatically active, biologically appropriate nutrition, then a process that sterilizes and denatures these components fundamentally contradicts the product's stated purpose. You're buying raw food that's been processed to the point where much of its rawness has been neutralized. Number 3. The raw-inspired grocery store. Brands. Now let's look at the deception happening right in your local supermarket. Major pet food brands have recognized the consumer shift toward raw feeding and have responded with a flood of products labeled as ancestral, wild, and raw-inspired. These products line grocery store shelves with packaging featuring wolves, lions, and tigers, suggesting a return to natural feeding patterns. Here's the shocking reality. Despite all the raw terminology on the packaging, these products are cooked at extremely high temperatures, often higher than regular kibble. The processing required to make these foods shelf-stable necessitates cooking methods that are the complete opposite of raw feeding principles. They're loaded with sodium and chemical flavor enhancers to make up for the nutrition and taste loss during processing. Perhaps most concerning is that the natural nutrients destroyed during the high-heat cooking process are replaced with synthetic vitamin premixes. These synthetic nutrients are often sourced from overseas facilities with questionable quality control standards, creating potential health and safety issues that rarely make headlines. The deception here is particularly insidious because the marketing terminology, raw-inspired, ancestral recipe, wild formula, creates a powerful impression of natural, minimally processed nutrition while hiding the reality of high-heat cooking and chemical enhancement. The average pet owner has no way of knowing that raw-inspired actually means cooked at extreme temperatures. The impact on pet health can be severe. The excessive sodium levels in these products can create kidney and heart strain in older pets. The synthetic vitamin premixes have been implicated in numerous recalls due to contamination issues. And despite claims of joint support and mobility enhancement, the actual levels of beneficial compounds like glucosamine are negligible, requiring pet owners to purchase expensive separate supplements. Here's the twist that reveals the depth of the deception. The raw-inspired products lining grocery store shelves are often cooked at higher temperatures than regular kibble, making them even further removed from raw nutrition than standard pet food. You're being sold the idea of raw feeding while buying some of the most heavily processed pet food on the market. Number 2. The sawdust and bone bulk raw suppliers. Let's turn our attention to what many budget-conscious raw feeders consider their salvation. Online bulk raw suppliers selling large chubs of raw meat at what seems like bargain prices. These companies market themselves as providing premium raw nutrition at affordable prices, making raw feeding accessible to the average pet owner. The disturbing reality: what's being sold as meat is often mostly ground bone, fat, and connective tissue trimmings with minimal actual muscle meat. These are the parts of animals that slaughterhouses can't sell for human consumption, essentially industrial byproducts marketed as premium pet nutrition. The high bone content in these products is used as a cheap filler, drastically reducing the cost of production while maximizing profit margins. For your pet, this translates to concrete-like waste that can cause painful constipation and dangerous intestinal blockages. The excessive fat trimmings keep costs low for manufacturers while putting your pet at risk for serious health issues like pancreatitis. The marketing of these products as bulk raw meat cleverly hides their true composition of bone meal and fat scraps. Terms like whole animal nutrition and natural prey model are used to justify the inclusion of what amounts to slaughterhouse waste, while testimonials from satisfied customers, often paid or incentivized, create the impression of quality. The health impact can be devastating. Veterinarians report seeing increasing cases of painful constipation and dangerous blockages from high bone content in these bulk raw products. Emergency hospitalizations for pancreatitis triggered by the excessive fat content are becoming more common. Long-term feeding of these nutritionally imbalanced products can lead to deficiencies causing brittle bones and heart problems. But here's where the deception gets truly outrageous. The next brand we investigated charges premium prices for chicken that's nutritionally inferior to grocery store meat. And before we continue, take a second to subscribe and click like. It helps push this investigation to the pet owners who need to see it. Let's expose the final scam. Number 1. The vegetarian-fed raw chicken brands. At the top of our list is perhaps the most insidious deception in the raw pet food industry. Premium raw brands boasting vegetarian-fed chicken as superior nutrition. These companies charge top dollar for what they market as the highest quality, most ethically sourced chicken available for pet consumption. Here's the shocking truth. They don't want you to know. Chickens fed strictly soy and corn create meat with inflammatory fatty acid imbalances that can actually harm your pet over time. These vegetarian-fed chickens produce meat with high omega-6 inflammatory and low omega-3 fatty acid ratios, the exact opposite of what carnivores need for optimal health. Even more concerning, the soy and corn protein residues that remain in the chicken fat can trigger allergic reactions in sensitive pets. These allergens persist through processing and can cause chronic inflammation and immune system dysfunction that pet owners often misattribute to other causes. The marketing of these products as premium sourcing cleverly hides the nutritionally inferior quality of the meat itself. Terms like ethical farming, humane raised, and premium vegetarian fed create a health halo effect that distracts from the biological reality. This meat is less appropriate for carnivores than chicken raised with more natural diets. The impact on your pet's health can be significant. Veterinarians report worsened arthritis pain and skin allergies from the inflammatory fatty acid profiles in these meats. Pet owners end up spending thousands on costly vet visits for chronic itching and hot spots caused by allergen residues. And throughout it all, pets are receiving less biologically appropriate nutrition than they would from chickens allowed to forage naturally. Here's the twist that exposes the entire premium raw chicken industry. The premium vegetarian-fed chicken marketed as the gold standard is actually worse for carnivores than regular chicken. The very feature these companies are charging you extra for, the vegetarian diet, is creating meat that's fundamentally less appropriate for your carnivorous pet. Raw pet food used to be simple: real meat, natural enzymes, species-appropriate nutrition. Pet owners who couldn't afford commercial diets fed table scraps and raw bones, and their animals thrived. But somewhere along the line, corporations saw an opportunity to monetize even this natural approach. In the past, raw feeding meant simple nutrition with real meat and bones. It meant natural enzymes supporting digestion and health. It meant affordable nutrition from butcher scraps and table food. Pets thrived on these simple, biologically appropriate diets without fancy packaging or premium pricing. The present reality of commercial raw feeding is dramatically different. We now have industrial raw processing destroying many of the natural benefits that made raw feeding valuable in the first place. We have premium pricing for inferior processed alternatives that deliver a fraction of the nutritional benefit. And we have corporate manipulation of natural feeding principles to create profitable product lines rather than optimal pet nutrition. What many pet owners don't realize is that the corporate takeover of the raw pet food space is nearly complete. The same conglomerates that own major kibble brands now control many of the popular raw food companies. Their marketing departments create pseudo-scientific health benefits to justify premium pricing, and their profit margins on premium raw products often exceed 300% of the actual nutritional value being delivered. The financial impact on pet owners is severe. Many are spending 40 to 60% more on fake raw foods than they would on quality kibble without seeing proportional health benefits. Retirement budgets are being strained by premium pet food costs that continue to rise year after year. And emergency vet bills from nutritional imbalances and contamination add insult to injury for pet owners who thought they were making the healthiest possible choice. The deception connection becomes clear when you examine the processing problems in the raw pet food industry. Many of the same shortcuts and quality compromises that plague the kibble industry have simply been transferred to raw production, with higher prices masking lower quality ingredients. The marketing exploitation of pet owners' desperation for healthy options has created a perfect storm where emotion overrides critical evaluation of what's actually being sold. So what should pet owners seeking real raw nutrition do? Let's be practical. One alternative is local raw co-ops, community-sourced whole prey and muscle meat with transparent sourcing from local farms and butchers. These grassroots operations often provide raw nutrition at 50 to 70% less than commercial raw brands, with superior quality and transparency. Another option is seeking out reputable small batch producers, companies like Steve's Real Food, Primal, Original Formulas, and Northwest Naturals that still maintain true raw processing without HPP or high heat treatment. These smaller companies often provide actual muscle meat, organs, and appropriate bone ratios instead of the fillers and byproducts found in many commercial brands. For those willing to take complete control, home preparation remains the gold standard. Vet nutritionist-approved raw recipes allow complete control over sourcing and quality. This approach is often less expensive than any commercial option while providing truly optimal nutrition tailored to your individual pet's needs. The key isn't avoiding all commercial raw food, it's identifying which brands still honor the original principles of raw feeding versus those exploiting the movement for profit. It's about becoming an educated consumer who can see through marketing claims to evaluate the actual nutritional value being provided. 5 fake raw brands, all owned by major pet food conglomerates, all using identical deceptive marketing, identical processing shortcuts, identical profit over health mentality, different packaging, different price points, same systematic deception. This is America's raw pet food industry, and most pet owners have no idea they're being scammed. But here's what should truly concern you. If even the raw food movement has been corrupted by corporate greed, what hope is there for any pet nutrition? The answer lies in understanding that the same companies destroying kibble quality are now destroying raw food quality. We investigated the treat industry next. What we found about training treats, dental chews, and supplement scams will shock every pet owner because the deception runs even deeper than food. These companies are literally profiting from every aspect of your pet's life while systematically destroying their health. And here's the bigger question. If this is happening with something as fundamental as pet nutrition, what else in our animal care industry might not be what it claims to be? Hit subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The next investigation drops soon, and you won't want to miss what we've uncovered about the pet supplement industry. Your pet's health and your wallet depend on it.